Hey there, everyone, and welcome to Pour and Explore, a wine, food, and travel podcast. I'm your host, Nick Elliott, the wine guy. I'd love to be your go-to guide for all things wine, food, and the amazing places they take us. Here on Pour and Explore, we'll sip, savor, and wander through the exciting world of wine, discuss incredible cuisines, and uncover the stories behind unforgettable destinations. Each week, I'll bring you lively conversations with wine experts, chefs, travel pros, and fellow enthusiasts. We'll share practical tips, hilarious tales, and plenty of inspiration to fuel your next adventure. So grab a glass, pull up a chair, and join me as we pour, explore, and celebrate the good life. Let's dive in. Hello to my wine lovers, foodies, flavor adventurers, and soulful sippers out there. Welcome back to Pour and Explore. This is the podcast where we uncork the stories behind great food, great wine, and the incredible people who bring them to life. I'm your host, Nick Elliott, your certified sommelier, former winemaker, and your go-to guide for wine, wanderlust, and all things delicious. Today's episode is one that's going to hit all the notes for you. We're talking about flavor, we're talking about heart, we're talking about purpose and passion. I'm talking with a powerhouse in the culinary world who's not only dishing out unforgettable meals, but is also changing lives behind the scenes. Let me introduce you to Chef Kisha Washington. Now, that is a name that is making some serious waves in the world of private dining, culinary competitions, and, more importantly, mental health advocacy in the hospitality space. Kisha is the founder and executive chef behind The Key Ingredient, and her personal private chef business is based in Frederick, Maryland, where she is curating intimate and upscale dining experiences, all in her clients' homes and private spaces. We're talking multi-course magic, fusion flavors, butter-basted salmon that has become legendary, and you can ask her mom about that, and a deeply thoughtful food that connects people. But that is just part of her story. She is also the heart and brains behind Cook's Creed Foundation. This is a nonprofit dedicated to supporting chefs and hospitality professionals with mental health and recovery resources they often struggle to find. And let me tell you, this part of our conversation is powerful. You know, I'm a longtime hospitality guy. I've been in the hotel space. I've been in the restaurant space. And I cannot tell you how much this is needed. So today we're going to dive into how the foundation was born out of a personal tragedy and how it's become a force for change in an industry that doesn't always take care of its own. Kisha doesn't just talk the talk, she walks it in the kitchen clogs and then some. She is a 7-time top 10 finalist in the World Food Championships. She's the grand prize winner of Rio Night and is a seasoned judge and competitor who's appeared on shows like Fakers vs. Bakers and played at Baltimore. And she also wrote a book called Cultivating Healthy Minds, a guide to mental health resources, which is chock full of stories, stats, support, and real talk from chefs and mental health pros across the country. Volume 2 is coming soon. You'll hear more about that in just a second. In today's episode, we talk about the truth behind being a private chef and what it really costs, what every home cook should have in their kitchen, and spoiler alert, it's not all food, the emotional toll of kitchen life, and what chefs really need beyond a good knife. Why Pinot Noir might be your next go-to steak pairing wine. Her favorite wine regions, and hint, California Sunshine and Portuguese Passion are among her top favorites. Plus, her top winery picks if you're planning a trip to Northern Virginia wine country. So, whether you're in the industry, you're an at-home chef, or just someone who appreciates a good meal and meaningful conversation, you're going to really love this one. So grab a glass, maybe a glass of New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc if you're feeling that seafood vibe, and settle in for an inspiring, funny, honest, and a beautifully human conversation with Chef Kisha Washington. Keisha, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. I'm super excited.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we talked a few weeks ago and we had a great conversation. And I knew as a fellow chef and wine lover and, competition chef and all around great person, you'd be awesome guest on the show. So I really appreciate your time this evening. Give us a quick overview of who you are and what you do.
Where do I even start? Okay, so I'm Keisha, and I am a chef of over 15 years.
Mhm.
I have my own personal chef business that's actually out of Frederick, Maryland, called The Key Ingredient. And I'm also the founder of a nonprofit organization called Cooks Creed Foundation. So I wear many hats, I will say.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the business is called The Key Ingredient. You're
Yes.
based in Maryland, obviously, and I would certainly recommend that anyone based in that area check Keisha out. And all of your socials and contact
Yeah.
information will be in the show notes to listen to. The Key Ingredient, I love the name. Do you have a key ingredient in your kitchen that is a must have?
Actually, that's actually interesting. I really don't. And it's kind of funny because I kind of came up with the name because Key is kind of like my nickname.
Hmm.
So I wanted to kind of incorporate something a little different. And I thought the key ingredient, which could be anything. And that kind of goes into my cooking a little bit and how I kind of cook. But yeah, that's kind of how I came up with that. So
Fantastic. So nothing specific. You're a
nothing
jack of all
specific,
trades. It
no.
sounds like that. I like that. Do you have what you would consider a signature dish that you just love to
Mm.
prepare that wows every time that you put it on the table?
My signature dish definitely has to be a butter-based salmon that I do. That is probably my favorite. I actually cook that for my
Mhm.
mom every Thursday evening, but a lot of clients really love it. And that's kind of probably one of the things that I love, I guess, in my business is that I do a lot of farm to table and fusion cooking. So I love like mixing different cultures and different seasonings, different products together and coming up with a dish. So, yeah, that salmon is absolutely amazing, if I say so.
I'm sure it is. Now, you said butter basted, so
Yes.
is it more like poached or?
Yeah, so I definitely do a quick like sear with the skin
Mhm.
and then turn it over and then I put my butter in there. I love clarified butter a lot, so I do that with a bunch of herbs and basically just baste it and I pop it in the oven and let it go for about 5 to 8 minutes and it's absolutely perfect. I like to pair it with like vegetables. I usually do like a really nice honey balsamic Brussels sprouts with it, which is really
Mhm.
nice. And I like a little cream sauce. So it's a really great, amazing dish. Yeah, I really love it a lot. It's one of my
No, it
favorites.
sounds fantastic. Absolutely. And you mentioned you like clarified butter for the
Mm,
listeners out there. You can certainly make your own clarified butter at home.
yes.
It's very easy to do. Just do a quick Google search for it. But you can also buy it in the grocery store.
Yes.
Most specialty grocery stores, you'll find it under the name ghee,
Hmm.
Ghatee, and that's a great product to buy. And you can keep it in your pantry or in your
Yeah.
fridge, and it lasts a long time. So you can always
Does.
have that clarified butter to cook with at home. I always love to ask my chef guests, I talked about what's a key ingredient in your kitchen, and I talk a lot about the pantry and so on. Tell
Yeah.
me your top three things that every home
Mhm.
cook should have in their pantry.
That's a great question. Number one, hands down, has to be a great knife. You have to have a good chef knife.
Mm,
It's kind of crazy. I don't necessarily think you got to go out and spend hundreds or thousands of dollars for a great chef knife. As long as you're able to sharpen it or keep it sharp, it has a nice handle. Yes, number one, a good knife. Absolutely. Second, I would have to say a mandolin. So, one of the things that I always say is that if I can find it an easy way to get it done, that's what I'm going to
yes.
do. So, especially for home cooks. So, a mandolin, and you can get that right in the section. I mean, you can grab that at Walmart, and I think it's maybe like 12 bucks.
Hmm.
And it's
Yep.
a good slicer for vegetables, for certain types of fruit. Like, it's great, especially if you're like meal planning or meal prepping, like that's amazing. So you got to have that. So knife, a mandolin, and oh, I forgot what it's called.
Oh.
But it's a hand mixer, not the one with the two prong thing, but like immersion blender. That's it. That's it.
Oh, an immersion blender. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yes.
That's
Yes.
it. Yeah. I think that's great if you're trying to do something like a quick sauce or you're trying to do a quick soup. Like that's amazing. So those three products, I feel like you got to have a must have in the kitchen.
I love how you immediately went to equipment when I asked about stuff in your pantry.
Right.
That's, as a chef myself, I understand the importance of good equipment in the kitchen.
Yes.
And I would completely agree with all of those things. I've got a beautiful immersion blender here at the house, a great set of knives as well. But, if our listeners don't know what a mandolin is, it's essentially a unit that sits on your countertop, and it's got a blade on it, and you literally take the vegetable or the whatever and you slice it, and you can get really, really thin slices of potato or zucchini. I use it for carrots. Some of them come with attachments where you can do, like waffle fries or something like that. I have OXO, the black and white, plastic one. That's what I use in my home kitchen here. And they work perfectly well. You can put it in the dishwasher. It's an awesome piece of equipment. It's a dangerous piece of equipment. You have to be careful with your fingertips, when you're doing it.
100%.
They are very sharp, but it's an awesome piece of equipment. And if you love to cook at home, I would highly recommend that you pick one up. To our listeners out there. Let's jump around a little bit. Obviously you've been cooking for a long time. You've even joined some culinary competitions, and I didn't want to be outdone, so I brought out some of my trophies over here. I'm sure you've got your little trophy cabinet as well. Tell us about some of the competitions that you've entered.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because I never thought I would get into competition cooking. I actually started back in 2015 at a cake show. And I had this really good cake recipe that's kind of been in our family for a while. It's a pound cake. And I entered it and I won. And I was like, whoa, that's okay, this is kind of cool. Let's see what else is out there. And so that's when I got actually my first invitation to one of the biggest competitions called the World Food Championships. And I've been there every year competing. It's a whole week of competition. So I compete, I travel to compete in that competition. I've done some competitions on TV with Food Network. Yeah, cake competitions, online cooking competitions, cake shows, all of that. So it's really fun. It's a lot of work, but it's amazing to win, though.
Definitely. And I think you've judged a few competitions yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's kind of the advantage when you go into competition, because you kind of know what the judges are looking for, what they're not looking for, how to adjust, your recipe. And so I feel like that has definitely played to my advantage. But yeah, I love both, actually. I really do. I really love both sides of it.
And these competitions that we're talking about, maybe not all of them, but they're not all for professionals. They can also be for just kitchen enthusiasts as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And I know a lot of my listeners would love to get into that. Give us a piece of advice on how you would start. How did you start getting into the competition thing, and what advice would you give to someone who's just getting into it?
Yeah. So I actually started looking online just for some local competitions. And that's kind of the cool thing. I feel like when you do an online search, it'll kind of give you what's in your area, but it'll also tell you some stuff that are in different states. And I always kind of feel like that's really cool if you can kind of take a time to travel and go see a new city and compete, in a cool competition. But some advice, you got to have some thick skin, I will say, because I feel like in the kitchen, you may think you're the best and you get to competition and it shows you may not be. But I guess my thing would be practice. Practice your skill, practice what you're good at. Because to me, I feel like if you practice and you get the reps in, it's just another day when you go to a competition, I feel like. Probably another thing would be step out of your comfort zone.
Hmm.
You don't always have to do the same thing. I think some of the competition, especially at the World Food Championships, they have multiple categories. And so I've been in the dessert category, I've been in the burger category, I've been in the
Yes.
recipe category, I've been in vegetarian. And so to me, I'm kind of like stepped out of my comfort zone of things I don't make every day. I can kind of use those particular skills in competition. So definitely step out of your comfort zone. I mean, whether it's chili or steak competition or rib competition, definitely step out of your comfort zone and see what you kind of like, and then play around with some new products. To me, that's probably one of the biggest things is playing around with new products, because that always is something different when you go into competition.
Well, that's great advice. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So obviously you've been around, you've been in these competitions. I'm sure you've met some amazing chefs,
Mhm.
celebrity and otherwise,
Yes.
throughout your time. Kind of a cornball question, but if you could sit down and have a
Mm.
glass of wine and a meal with any chef, who would
Ooh.
it be?
Oh my gosh. That's a great question. I think I have two in mind.
Please.
And both of them sadly have passed away, which is
Oh,
crazy. Anthony Bourdain, because I just love the way his mind works. I love the show that he did was amazing. So he's definitely one. And Paul Bocuse, which is kind of
yes.
cool too, because French cooking to me is just, it's so elegant, it's so extravagant, yet it's so simple. It just
Yes.
looks so beautiful. I love it. So I would love to get into his mind. That's a great question. I really thought about that.
Publico's his market in France is
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. If you haven't been, it's something that every chef should
Yes.
behold. It's an awesome place. And of course, Anthony Bourdain was,
Of course.
a savant.
Right. Exactly.
What do you want to call him? A
Exactly.
very, very interesting person to say the least.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about the foundation that you've put
Okay.
together. And I definitely want to shine a spotlight on this because I think it's really important work that you're doing. And as someone who's spent, many hours in a kitchen from the ground all the way up to executive chef, I understand the pitfalls, of being in the kitchen. And quite frankly, it's not something that the person on even in the dining room, will even think
Hmm.
about. So tell us a little bit about this foundation and what got it started for you.
Yeah. So Cooks Creek Foundation started back in April of 2020. And I kind of have to go back a little bit to kind of give you a little bit of a backstory of how it actually got started. So
Hmm.
my fiance at the time, he was a chef too. And we were kind of
Hmm.
talking about, what do chefs really need when we're getting started? When we come out of culinary school or we decide we're going to switch careers and go cook, what do we really need? And we kind of thought about it like, we really need money to get some things started.
Hmm.
We really need to take care of ourselves and our well-being, self-care, and we really need mentorship. Like, we really need someone that's actually been there to kind of like
Hmm.
walk us through the steps. And so we had been talking about it for a while, and we were trying to figure out a way to kind of mold those things together, basically. But sadly, he passed away by suicide in
Hmm.
January 20th. And I wanted to continue that because I
Hmm.
felt that, one, I wanted to kind of honor him in that way as well. But
Absolutely.
I also wanted to kind of shine some light on kind of what chefs really go through in the kitchen that don't nobody really know. So yeah, so Cooks Creek was born out of that, April of 2020, right through COVID.
Hmm.
Which was kind of
Hmm. Perfect
crazy.
timing. Yeah.
Perfect time, perfect timing, right? And so we just actually hit our 5-year mark actually last week, which is really
Congratulations.
cool. Thank you. And it's grown into places that I didn't even think about and started conversations that I didn't even know even existed.
Hmm.
So that's kind of where Cooks Creek kind of was born out of, basically.
Well, I love that. And, I again definitely want to put a pin in it and, say this is a very important thing. The self-care and the mental health issues, or the lack of self-care, I should
Hmm.
say,
Yeah.
for staff of kitchens. And we're talking everything from a short order cook
Yeah.
to an executive chef, in a kitchen. There are struggles that we go through, and it's
Yeah.
very hard work. It's very laborious. It's very stressful. And as anyone who has a stressful job knows, it takes a toll on your body. It takes a toll on your
Hmm.
mind, and a lot of times, we go for ways to easily take care of it, drugs,
Yeah.
alcohol, and so
Yeah.
on. And that's unfortunately a big part of being on a kitchen staff, is dealing with that, dealing with people
Hmm.
who are into that, and it takes a toll on your body and your mind.
Hmm.
And I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing. So thank you for doing it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
Absolutely. I will make sure that the link to that website is going to be in the show notes. For my listeners out there, get over to the website, check it out, check out the amazing things that Keisha's doing with Cook's Creed Foundation, and please donate. It's going to help a lot of people. If you go out to restaurants, you need
Yeah.
to donate to this cause, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Let's move on to the book. I want to talk a
Oh.
little bit about the book that you've written. It's an important piece of work. Tell
Yeah.
us about the book that you just put out there.
Yeah. So, with kind of working within the organization, because I have an executive board that kind of helps me run the organization and everything, we were trying to come up with a way where we could have multiple resources and multiple research to kind of, one, back up what we're talking about, but two, really kind of show some of the things that are kind of happening. So, I got this crazy idea. I was like, you know what? I really would love to write a book or a guide that has everything that you can kind of think of, everything from research to websites to links to organizations, even highlighting different chefs in the community and different people within the hospitality industry doing things and how they're changing their kitchens. So yeah, cultivating healthy minds is kind of what came out of that. It took me about a year and a half to kind of get all those things together. It was a lot of research. My whole
Sure.
team basically took on a topic and we researched as much as we could. So in that book, you're going to find resources from all 50 states. You're
Mhm.
going to find chef stories. We highlight a number of chefs kind of towards the back of the book of how they got started, what they're working on, and how they're changing their kitchen culture. We also worked with a bunch of organizations that work with chefs for mental health. We also got a nurse practitioner to kind of highlight her stuff. So it was really cool to kind of see it come together. I didn't realize that self-publishing a book would be hard. Which it was definitely difficult. But yeah, I published it on June 30th of 2024 and decided, you know what, I really would love to make this a 3-part series. So
Mhm.
that was actually just volume 1, and volume 2 will be out this year. So
Wow.
and I'm super excited, definitely super excited about volume 2, because volume 2 is where we're taking on some really, really difficult topics that I think a lot of people don't know, or a lot of people don't know about what really happens in our kitchens. So we're going to be talking everything from high school competition, what that looks like, legislation and policy around mental health. We're going to be talking about the state of mental health. Like, what does that look like in the kitchen? What does
Mhm.
that look like outside the kitchen? So, yeah, we really wanted to take on some really hard topics that not a lot of people talk about, or the conversations that kind of get pushed under the rug or silenced. And I really want to talk about those things. Like, I really want to bust the door open on, like, What happens when someone steals your intellectual property? What happens when someone steals your
Yeah.
recipes? What happens when a restaurant you've been trying to build burns down? What is that like? So I really wanted to kind of look at some of these things that are not really talked about and really kind of highlight like what goes on in a chef's mind for our mental health. Like how can we better take care of ourselves? So yeah, I'm super
Yeah.
excited about it, but it's
Yeah.
man, it's a lot.
Volume
It's a
two
lot
coming
of
out.
work.
I'm loving it. So, who is the target audience? Who should be buying these books?
Chefs should be buying these books. And I don't mean just chefs in a restaurant kitchen. I
Hmm.
mean everybody from fast food all the way up to the executive chef or Michelin star. You should
Hmm.
be getting that. Hospitality, whether you work in a hotel or whether you work at
Hmm.
a resort, people that do mixology. I mean, all of the things. Even home cooks, I think, can kind of grab some things from that a little bit. And I mean, I even think it could be good for the person that goes out to the restaurant because maybe you'll get a little bit of ideas of what's going on in the kitchen while you're sitting at the table.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I highlight on this show a lot, particularly on the wine side, the people and the amount of hard work and blood, sweat, and tears that goes
right.
into preparing a bottle of wine that,
Yeah,
winds up in your glass. And I think a very similar way, we don't necessarily think about all of the hard work that goes
absolutely.
into preparing our food,
Yeah,
at a restaurant. And I do as well think that overlaps onto all of hospitality,
yes,
the check-in folks at hotels and the housekeeping staff
yeah.
and the servers at a high-end resort, things like
Hmm.
that. There's a lot of pressure on them. There's a lot of stuff coming at them
Yep.
all the time, and it can be very taxing on a person. So again, thank you for shining a light on this. So we know who should be buying the book. Where do they buy it?
So it is available on Amazon. It's available as a Kindle download, paperback, and hardback. But it's also available on barnesandnoble.com, walmart.com. It's all over the internet. Actually, if you just search the title, it'll pop up,
All
which
right,
is really
perfect.
cool.
And that title again is Cultivating Healthy Minds. And right now, volume one is available, and volume
Yeah.
two will be coming out, I think you said in June.
Yes, I'm hoping June, maybe July. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see
All
because
right.
I'm self-publishing again. So yeah, hopefully June.
Perfect, perfect. Let's bring things full circle. I want to talk a little bit more about not necessarily specifically your private chef business, but let's talk about private chef business, in general, because there might be some people out there that don't know that private chefs exist,
Hmm.
and it certainly can be where it's an ongoing gig, where
Yeah.
you're cooking in someone's kitchen, for them on a regular basis. It can certainly be a one-off situation. You're
Yeah.
having a dinner party and you want to concentrate on your guests
Hmm.
and having a great time. And, the way you do that is you hire a great personal chef like yourself to
Yeah.
come in and prepare a beautiful meal for your guests of 10 or 20 or however it might be. Tell us some misconceptions that might be out there about private chefs.
I would say probably the biggest one is that private chefs are expensive. It can be, but I think it's based off of menu, it's based off guests, it's
Hmm.
based off a number of different things. So
Absolutely.
to kind of go in it and say, oh, it's just too expensive for me, I can't afford that, that's necessarily not the case.
Hmm.
And there are a number of chefs that do a number of different cuisines and a number of different cooking styles. So to me, I feel like that's one misconception, that it's expensive. Two, that you have to have everything in the kitchen when I come to your home, or if a chef comes to your home, you don't have to.
Hmm.
I have been in kitchens where I can barely turn around and I've done 3, 4, 5 courses in that small kitchen. But I've also been in homes where like the kitchen is one side of their house. So you don't need everything. Because a lot of times, a lot of chefs kind of bring their own tools. That's what I do. I usually bring a lot of my
Absolutely.
own tools with me. So I guess another misconception is that, and I see a lot of my clients always kind of think about this, is that you have to stick to one particular thing that's specifically for the client, and that's not the case. I can give you a full menu that has multiple options, that has vegetarian in it, that's you want a meat dish, you want a fish dish. And so you don't have to always stick to one thing or what your guests want. I always like to, at least for me, I like to tailor it to my client and to their
Hmm.
guests, you know? So yeah, that's definitely another misconception too.
Absolutely. And when it comes to the expense side of it,
Yeah,
something that I look at all the time in my life and in my family life and everything is trading time for money.
right.
Is if you think about just the amount of time, someone who's planning a dinner party, the amount of time that you are going to spend in the
Hmm.
kitchen, preparing the meal, in the grocery store, buying the ingredients,
Yep.
this, that, and the other, the amount of time that you are going to spend doing that. How much is your time worth? I guess is what
Exactly.
it boils down to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Would you rather be sitting out on the patio drinking mimosas with your guest or worrying whether the chicken's burning in the oven? It's, you know,
100%. Exactly.
so it's really something to think about. And if
Yeah.
you're planning a dinner party or a get together or a family reunion or, whatever you're doing, I think it's something to consider.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you have, and you don't have to give us details, on who or what, do you have like an ultimate cooking event, that you've done, an ultimate party that you've done?
Well, I will say I've done lots of events. I kind of have my favorites.
Mhm.
Definitely my favorites have to be where that guest number is between 8 and 12. I feel like that's just
Oh,
a
okay.
great number. I feel like I don't really need my sous chef, but it's great to have my sous chef there to kind of like keep
Hmm.
me on track a little bit. I like that because those are the kind of parties that I can do wine with, wine pairings with, which I love. But I mean, I've done events all the way up to 150 people, which
Hmm.
can be a whole lot. At least for myself, I try to keep it 40 and below because I feel like then you're kind of looking at, okay, now I got to hire out for staff and I got to hire, a bartender and all these things. And that's extra cost. So if I want to
Definitely.
keep your costs low, just that 8 to 12 is a good range for me. But oh, an ultimate like dinner, it has to be probably a dinner I did maybe a year or two ago, and it was a multi-course wine pairing. Yeah, I was obsessed. The menu was amazing.
I'm sure. I'm
I
sure.
think I love those because especially if the client like gives me full range of like come up with a menu with these particular items, this particular seasonal ingredients, or they let me go wild with the wine. I love
Mhm.
that. But yeah, a multi-course dinner. I think it was about 5 courses, and we just kind of progressed through the dishes and the wine, and it was amazing. And I love those events. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, what a wonderful segue into my next questions. You are talking to the wine guy after
Right,
all.
exactly.
Well, let's start with you. What do you like to drink?
Okay, so I will say this. I'll start here. I love to try everything at least once. I think my favorites, though, that I've just gravitate towards a lot is a Sauvignon Blanc, is
Mhm.
like, it's just so great. Definitely a good Pinot Noir. I love. And I like something sweet every now and again. Now, if I'm kind of thinking of towards like region and country, California has always has always have a little place in my heart, a little bit. I
Mhm.
feel like even though I haven't been
Mhm.
there, they just the wine is different. I don't know how to explain it. It just seems sunny and bright, and I'm imagining that's what California is kind of like. But I definitely do love wine from Portugal. I think that's probably first on my list. I think I have an obsession with Portugal wine. And then there's some great South African wines as well. So I definitely
Absolutely.
feel like, Yeah, I have my favorites, I will say, but I love to try a little bit of everything.
Definitely. For those folks who are listening, if you listened to my episode 2 episodes ago, I spoke with someone and we talked at length about South African wine.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, it's, really, really good stuff. If you didn't get a chance to
Yeah.
listen to that episode, hop over and listen to the episode with Laurel Simmons. We talked about South African wine, and that's
Wow.
definitely one of my favorites as well.
Yeah.
So it's obviously something that's near and dear to my heart, food and
Mhm.
wine pairing. Give us two of your ultimate pairings and then maybe something that's a little off the wall.
One of my dishes that I usually do is a classic filet, and I do
Hmm.
a peppercorn sauce. And I'll either do kind of like some kind of roasted vegetable. It's really kind of classic, but I like using Mediterranean spices with it.
Hmm.
I like to pair that with a Pinot Noir, and a lot of other people like to do a Cab. And I like Cab, but to me, Pinot Noir just has a lightness about it. I guess it depends on which one it is, but I always find
Hmm.
ones that have kind of like a fruit feel, but also feels very earthy. So to me, I always feel like those two with Mediterranean flavors just go really well together. I do like that salmon dish that I do.
Hmm.
That salmon dish, I definitely love that with Sauvignon Blanc. I will say New Zealand has some really great ones, I will say.
Yes, they do. Yes,
Um,
they do.
so a lot of times I'll grab a New Zealand one, but it just to me tastes grassy and it tastes airy and it's really nice with seafood. I mean, a lot of people do like Chardonnay with seafood, but Sauvignon Blanc just gives it a little something different, I feel like. So,
A Sauvignon Blanc with, that nice herbaceousness or
yeah,
grassiness, that you're talking about. I think that flavor profile in and of itself, goes so well with, salmon is a
yeah,
very, in the world of fish, it's a very flavorful fish,
correct.
and then on top of it, it's a very fatty fish.
Yeah,
And when you have the fat from the salmon and you're adding butter to it,
yeah.
as we talked about, you need something like a Sauvignon Blanc
Hmm.
to cut through
Yes,
that
the
fat
fattiness.
in that dish. Absolutely.
Exactly.
So I think it sounds like an amazing pairing, 100%. You need something that's going to kind of clear off your palate and get you ready for the next
Hmm.
bite. So that sounds like an awesome one. Have you done any tastings that were kind of off the wall that kind of hit a mark with some of your clients?
A lot of my clients like to ask for sweet wines at the end of their meal with dessert,
Hmm.
and I
Yeah.
can understand why, but I always kind of go towards like a port, especially if I'm doing a chocolate dessert. Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
It just pairs so well together. But like I said, a lot of people really like sweet wine with dessert or like champagne with dessert, which I think is great.
Hmm.
But I mean, definitely a port. I'll even go with a really nice dark red just with dessert, especially if it's chocolate. And I do a lot of chocolate desserts, but yeah, I guess that would be not necessarily off the wall, but a little something different from everybody else. I put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's use the big, juicy red wine, like
Hmm.
maybe a Merlot or a
Yeah.
Tempranillo, from Spain, something
Hmm.
like that, paired with a chocolate dessert is awesome.
Yeah.
It's great,
It really is.
especially when we're talking like a really rich chocolate dessert,
Hmm.
like a ganache, something with that big, or,
Yeah.
flourless chocolate cake, something along those
Yes,
lines,
absolutely.
that very rich, sweet dessert. Again, using that same comparison to the salmon and the Sauvignon Blanc, that wine is going to help, clear your palate and get you ready
Hmm.
for the next bite. And,
Yeah.
I love that, and I think it would be an awesome pairing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. I would be remiss without, saying this show is called Pour and Explore.
Right.
And I just want to talk real quickly about maybe some travel. Do you have a favorite place that you've visited that people should know about and go
Yes.
to and enjoy and have a great time?
Yes, I have to give you a few. I have to give you a few because I'm actually in Winchester, Virginia, which is Northern Virginia. And I'm kind of out in what they would say kind of like wine country of Northern Virginia.
Hmm.
And there's tons of wineries and breweries where I'm at. I gotta give you a list of ones you got to go to. Ones you gotta go to. First on the top of the list is called Earnhardt Vineyard. It's in Purcellville, Virginia. It's absolutely amazing. It's kind of tucked away, really cute outside patio, but like the wine that they have or are making is 10 out of 10. I actually just went to a wine tasting probably about 2, 3 weeks ago there of wine that they're actually getting ready to bottle, which is really cool. And yeah, we tasted a white, there was a Sauvignon Blanc and 3 reds and
Hmm.
10 out of 10. So I highly recommend Earnhardt in Percival. It's really great. Second on that list would have to be Crimson Lane Vineyard. That's in Linden, Virginia. It's great. And the cool thing about that vineyard is that not only do they pair food with the wine, it's an amazing view as well too. So you got to check that out in the summertime because it is really amazing. And they have indoor, outdoor. It's really cool. And that's actually a newer vineyard. So
Hmm.
what they're kind of doing is really cool. Third on that list has to be Williams Gap Vineyard, which is in Round Hill. And that one is amazing. Food is amazing. Wine is amazing. It's kind of tucked on this little hill, which is really cool. And so the vineyards that they have are like actually they sit above where the whole space is located. So it's really cool when
Hmm.
you kind of look out. It's really nice. Great wine, great food, great atmosphere. So those are my top three.
All right,
Definitely have to check those. And I gotta throw in I gotta
please.
throw in one that has wine and a brewery, and that's Bear Chase. And that's in Bluemont. It sits on the hill, great view, wine, beer, food. It's great. So definitely go check out those.
Fantastic. Well, I love the fact that you threw us a curveball there, and so you heard it here, folks. Northern Virginia wine country is the
Yeah.
place to be. And you heard that from Chef Kisha Washington. Kisha, thank you so much for being here today. I
Yeah.
really, really appreciate it. I had a great conversation. It was awesome to meet you, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Take care, and I'll be talking to you real soon.
All
Thank you.
right, you as well.
All right, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Chef Kisha is the real deal, folks. I knew from the moment we first connected that she had a story worth telling, and she absolutely delivered. From soulful salmon and five-course wine pairings to the founding of a nonprofit that is transforming the kitchen culture from the inside out, and she is using her gifts to feed bodies and uplift spirits. What an amazing job. If you're curious about hiring a private chef, supporting mental health and hospitality, or just want to follow someone who's out there living her passion with purpose, go follow Kisha right now. You're going to find her on Instagram. You're going to find her at thekeyingredient.llc.com. And of course, you got to head over to the Cooks Creed Foundation. That's Cooks with a Z. Check those out in the show notes. And don't forget her book, Cultivating Healthy Minds, is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and more. I know you know someone in the hospitality field who might need a little extra help. This would be a great gift and support for them. And let's not forget, again, get on social media and check her out. Lots of fun stuff going on there. If you enjoyed this conversation, please take a second to rate and review the podcast. It really helps us reach more listeners who are curious about the intersection of food, wine, travel, and life. That is what we were talking about. Don't forget to subscribe. Really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for spending a little time with me here on Pour and Explore. Until next time, stay curious, keep sipping, and always keep wondering and wandering. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Pour and Explore. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your stories, and your questions, so you can drop me a line at cheers@thewineguy.vin. That's cheers@thewineguy.vin. Or let's connect on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. Grab those links on my website at thewineguy.vin. Until next time, let's keep wondering and wandering. Cheers, everyone.